Yes, nice and decent people. Today I wish to speak on some of the factors that are responsible for the commission of crime and violence in the place, in the country. I wish to speak about some of those things today. I want to acknowledge the contribution of people who help prevent crime on a daily basis. There are people who, while you sleep, while we sleep, while you're on patrol, there are people who are praying for the land, that there will be peace in the land. There are people, old people, young people, children, who pray for peace in this country, who pray for a better outcome in this place. One of the things that I'm very disappointed with, as it relates to the fighting of crime, is the mentality and the ideology of some church people who probably do not understand the scriptures. And so it is almost like some people just accept the crime and they tell you that we are living in the end of times, Jesus is going to come back soon, so all of these things are, are supposed to happen. Whereas we understand that theology, but that doesn't mean that you have to do absolutely nothing about it. But these are the same people who will tell you to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. But then, when it comes to crime in their own country, they will tell you things like these are things that have been forecasted before, and so they're going to happen. So I have written some of the points for me not to forget. I know sometimes I don't like writing things down because I just want to flow when I speak. But I have written some of the points down for me not to forget. Um, one of the reasons why we have this kind of level of crime and level of violence is is because we have completely abandoned church attendance. In my time when I was growing up as a little boy, from the time I was a child, it was customary that all the young people, all the children, everybody would go to church on the weekend. So if you are Roman Catholic, Pentecostal, Evangelical, and these denominations, you would have gone to church um, on a Sunday, and Adventists and these other people, Church of God, would have gone on a Saturday. But nonetheless, everybody was going to go to church. And so when you go there, you'd have gotten a sense of what is right, what is wrong. The certain values, certain moral values would have been inculcated in your psyche, in your thinking, in your mind, that you would have put into practice. And so when you find yourself in conflict, you would not think of chopping somebody or shooting them, because you would have heard in the church that you have to forgive people and things like that. But right now we have a situation where people do not really care about those things. Parents, many of them do not go to church, they do not attend church, and they do not send their children to churches. Even in my era, even when your mother was not going to church, you would have had to go. But this time, what we have now is a situation where parents are not going and they do not encourage the children to go. I think I read somewhere in the Bible a while back that God said that when you turn your back from Him, He's going to turn His back away from your children, which may be the repercussion of that phrase. So what happened is, when we were going to church, we had that balance. So in spite of the fact that we were listening to graphically violent songs and even watching bad movies and things like that, because in my era we had television programs too. We were not exposed to all the movie channels that people have now, but we had Cinemax, we had HBO, we had Showtime, we had TBS Superstation, and so we were able to see some violent things, some graphic violent movies. But in spite of that, in spite of the song that we were hearing, and in spite of even the influence that you would have had from your peers when you go to school, there was a counterbalance, because you had that religious and theological counterbalance from the teaching that you received when you went to church. But nowadays there's no counterbalance, because there's people do not go to church, no church attendance. They do not have these moral scruples inculcated in their minds. And so for that reason, when something happens, something that can be resolved easily, it is easy for people to contemplate and conceptualize the idea of shooting somebody for something that is minor. Again, I'm saying we need to go back to these times when people were attending church. Another thing that may contribute to the situation that we have here in terms of crime is because children are modeling bad behaviors even at a very early age. I'm just going to use this example, that's not the only one. We see situations where certain guys will be smoking marijuana in the presence of their children, in the presence of infants, and not knowing that they're actually showing the children how to wrap the weed and all of that. They are watching you, they are seeing you. And there are people that I have personally told that you need to stop smoking marijuana in the presence of the child, because you are literally showing the child how to wrap the weed and everything like that. You're showing the child to do it. Now it is even so bad in some cases where some people will actually allow their children to take a puff. It is very important that we understand that when people are small, these children, their neurons are developing very rapidly. And when you introduce them to THC, it causes structural and functional damage to the neurons, to the development of the CNS. So that can result in a number of uh, complications in the end. You can have situation where you have children having anxiety, depression, psychosis, suicidal tendencies as a result of the damage that is done by the THC to the nerves, to the neurons at such a tender age. We have also situation where people model, the children are learning to do things like sexual activity because they see their parents doing it. They see their parents doing it. They, even the way that they speak, the language that they use, these things are, the children are learning to speak in violent tones, to behave violently very early by seeing it happen in their houses. So in the fight against crime, it is of critical importance that people understand, parents, that they do not teach their children how to be violent and to develop violent tendencies at their home. The other thing, point three, that is one of the things that really contribute to crime in our place, in our beautiful Sweet Helen, is that there are many enablers of crime and violence in the country. Enablers, these are people who provide avenues for people to do bad things, people who cover up for them, people who provide a safe haven for them, people who condone their activities, people who tell them what you're doing is okay, people who do not tell them that they need to stop those things. There are people who know exactly what the people are doing. In some cases, they are facilitating it, knowing what that these things are happening, and yet still they think that it is okay. In some cases, we have people coming on radio and television saying people were good when they know for a fact that this was not the case. So these enablers of crime are helping to cause the problems that we have. Another contributor to violence is the fear. There is a fear in this among some people in this place. The fear that sometimes they are unprepared and somebody may come to them, run upon them with a gun, unlicensed firearm or whatever, and they'll be vulnerable. For that reason, there are many people. There are people. I will not say many. There are people now who are seriously contemplating the idea of having these illegal firearms. There are people who are very decent people in the society, and they are seriously contemplating buying these unregistered firearms, because people believe that there are a lot of people who are criminals who have these firearms and would not mind using it, and they will not put themselves as sitting ducks with those people, and so they will be willing to pay the money to get the illegal firearm in order to protect themselves. The other point, the last point that I'm coming there with is probably the best point that I have here. It is coming from Second Chronicles in the Bible, chapter 7, verse 14. It says that if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves, they shall pray and seek my face, and turn away from their evil ways, then God is going to hear them from heaven and is going to heal their land. We're in a situation where this thing about God healing the land and making things better, it is conditional, that we have to humble ourselves, we have to pray, and we have to seek his face, and above all, we have to turn away from our wicked ways, because some of us are very wicked in this country. Then God is going to heal the land. It is not fair. It is not fair. It is really not fair for the burden of crime to be placed on any prime minister and to say that it's because of this prime minister that we have all this crime now. It is a holistic thing. Crime fighting is a holistic thing. And so people keep the fire burning. We'll talk about that some other time. These are just a few, but there are many. But we have to be holding dialogues and talk about those things. And above all, action to help stem the situation in the place. Keep the fire burning.